If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything that you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on any listening platform like Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many, many more. It's everything that you need to make a podcast all in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. Download the Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Yo, this is Joe Bogdan, co-founder of Llama Leadership and co-host of the Llama Lounge podcast, and you are listening to my friend Nate on the Wartime Leadership podcast. Keep grinding, keep growing, and remember, better has no finish line.
Welcome to the Wartime Leadership Podcast, where we explore what spiritual resiliency looks like from different perspectives. We often focus on the physical, the emotional, and the social areas of resiliency, but too often neglect the spiritual pillar. This looks different for everyone. We will be exploring what spiritual resiliency looks like in the lives of our guests, who are people from all different walks of life. Tonight's episode is sponsored by Success Draft, where we help you transform your dreams into drafted plans. Head over to successdraft.com to get started today. Ladies and gentlemen, today's guest is internationally known DJ Kev White. Listen
What's up, everybody?
You are in for an exciting evening. I'm telling you right now, Kev has been to over 90 countries. He has DJed live in 90 countries. Can y'all imagine that? Kev, how did that start, bro?
Oh, man, it started when I was in college. I actually never wanted to become a DJ. I used to watch the TV show Recess, and all of the kids on there looked like nerds that were in the AV club. So I kept playing music in the back of my college dorm. And every time I looked out the window, it was like a massive party. So I'm like, okay, what the heck is going on? So I ended up, they said you should try out for the college radio station, which was 90.7 WETD in Alfred, New York. So I ended up having a #1 radio show out there. So I ended up getting connected with Def Jam. So once I got back to New York, shout out to Shampoo from YMVS, we started working together. He had me work with Neo and Young Jeezy and all these major artists. So I just never looked back from there.
Wow. Hey, I'm going to start you off easy. We are going to start off with 5 questions that are super easy. Just going to slide right into them. All right.
All right, let's do it.
All right. What is one thing you find repulsive?
Oh, all right. I got to think this one through. People farting. Oh, that's like #1 for me. Like 110%. I can't stand it when people fart next to me. That's the whole. That's my #1 pet peeve. Is so gross. Like walk to the bathroom. Like
at least excuse yourself.
I hate when they blame it on outside where we're stuck in the car together. Like it was you. It's only 2 people in the car.
Wow. All right. Question #2, softball. What is in your online shopping cart right now that you have not bought?
You know the uplighting for DJs, so that way you could so that way you could light up any venue to make it like a nightclub. I have like tons of those in my shopping cart, and I've been waiting to buy it, and I always make an excuse not to.
Oh, wait, what's the excuse?
It's not the right time. And I would have the money like, oh, I don't know if I should do this. Let me check on my wife. And it's always a no.
Yeah, I mean, you just recently got married, right?
Yeah, I did.
So, I mean, yes, now you're at that stage where you're like, okay, it's kind of like that jump rope, you're like, okay, is it my turn to get in? I don't know. I don't know. Should I buy
Whenever I got to ask my wife, I know for a fact I already told myself no. I just want her to confirm the no for me.
All right. Hey, so what do you love about your job?
Everything about being a DJ, every single aspect of it. You know, getting to travel the world, getting to recreate memories that last a lifetime. That was so Disney of me. To go out and just make people's vacations. You know, and especially like DJing, you can't replace the excitement when you play like a fire record and everybody in the crowd screams at the exact same time. You know,
Absolutely. You know, that's really cool, and I like how you said that. Even though it was very Disney of you, as you said, very Disney, but
very Disney.
Creating those memories, dude, that's legit. That's one thing that's really, I mean, you're creating a moment for somebody for the rest of their life.
110%. They're gonna look back at that moment like, hey, look, that DJ. You know,
I don't remember his name, but that DJ,
that guy was fire.
All right. So then what you love about your job, but what would you leave your job for?
My family? That'll probably be it. And that was like a close second. But it was just like, I don't think I tried to stop DJing so many times, I just couldn't. I think that's the only thing that could probably take me away from DJ, my family.
Wow, and you actually said that with a completely straight face. That was pretty awesome. They are pretty special, I would say, huh?
Right? To give up DJ, it got to be something special.
All right, so favorite superhero.
Oh, this is a tough one. Because I love Green Lantern. I would have to go with Green Lantern, John Stewart.
Wow. Okay, I didn't see that one coming. Like with you, I would have thought like Spider-Man.
That's my son's favorite.
See? Man.
Definitely Green Lantern.
All right. Well, hey, wow, Green Lantern.
It's a good one, right?
It is a good one. You kind of caught me off guard with that one. I was like, wait, is that the one with the ring, or is that the one with the light? I can't.
You know what? It was crazy because I was praying and I always wanted to know why was Green Lantern my favorite. And you got to remember, he said anything you could do with your imagination, you could do with the ring. But he said, imagine doing that in the spirit realm without the ring. So like that's how God used that analogy to show me what I'm doing in the spirit realm. He said, whatever you could create in your mind, whatever you could have faith to believe that you could do, you're gonna do. Then from there, something snapped in me where I was like, oh, your face is on fire. And the demon, it's on fire. And I'm like, oh my God, it really is on fire. This is really real.
Now I get the Green Lantern. All right. Now I get it. So, hey, Kev, here's what I want to talk about. I want you to kind of give us a little bit of background on you, where you've been and kind of how you got up to where you are now at this moment. So if you don't mind, just kind of take us through there.
Okay, it was crazy. So my aunt, I ended up on my aunt's couch. You know how that season is. And my aunt was like, hey, look, we should join Disney Meals on Wheels. So I said, okay, cool, no problem. So I ended up joining Meals on Wheels. I'm bringing food to sick and elderly people in their houses in New York. And this is after I was going back and forth with my mother and my family members. So I ended up there. So after doing Meals on Wheels for about 6 months or so, one of the ladies saw my MySpace page, which is hilarious, like, you know, and she saw me with Busta Rhymes and she saw me with Neo and she saw me with a bunch of artists. She said, hey, why don't you want to work for Radio Disney? And no lie, I said, they won't hire me. She said, why not? I said, because I'm black. She said, because I'm from the hood. Like, I don't think they're going to hire me. Like, because I don't know. And she started laughing. She said, come on, give it a shot. So at first the lady said, we're not hiring. And she said, any guy that gives up his Saturday for sick and elderly people deserves at least an interview. And then she said, okay, to interview me. So when I went up there, I was so nervous. Like, I was already working at Hot 97. I was the radio station. I was intern for Fun Master Flex. I was also working at Kiss FM. I was DJing all of their 3-team events. So whenever they did corporate events, I was the DJ. So when I got to the station, I was so nervous. The lady said to me, why are you nervous? You already got the job. She let me know I already got the job before as soon as I sat down. Like I'm scared to death, you know? And from there, I ended up going to Disney Cruise Line, which was crazy because they used to pay me to practice. My first show there, they said, if you mess up, you're fired. And I just started laughing because like 4,000 people outside, I'm standing with Mickey Mouse, you know? And like Mickey Mouse's DJs from Jamaica, Queens. It's like... I'm walking around my book bag all over the ship thinking people gonna rob me. She's like, what are you doing?
Standing right there with Mickey Mouse. I like that. That's a good image right there.
We're standing on the corner. Looking like hoodlums. So now I from there I ended up becoming a top DJ with Disney. I ended up going to DJ at Disney's Private Island, Disney Springs. I did Disney Wonder, and then I ended up switching to Princess Cruises. They said, whatever Disney's paying you, we're going to quadruple it, and we're going to send you to Hawaii. I said, well, you got yourself a new DJ. So I ended up doing the launch of their newest cruise ship in the world when I did the Majestic Princess. They had the Prime Minister of Italy on board and things like that, people like that. So when I came home, I really started to like focus on God, my relationship with God. And from there, you know how like when you first come to Christ, you receive the Holy Spirit, and then everything starts to fall apart, and God is like, I'm calling you, son. And I'm like, no. So I ran on a ship like Jonah did. Like, I got to escape. So my life I just ended up on a ship again for 7 months straight, trying to avoid God. And it clearly didn't work. So once I came back home, I had to surrender to the process of what he was trying to do with my life. And once I fully surrendered my life, my relationships, my family, everything, that's when he started to work on me. And because I kept running from him, he kept chasing me. And I was seeing so many signs and so many miracles and everything. I just still kept avoiding God. And God was using me to pray with people, and I didn't even know what I was doing. I was declaring things over here, like, hey, you're going to sleep tonight in the name of Jesus. And then next you know, she's like, oh my God, it's the first time I slept in like 15 years. So I didn't even know what was going on. I felt like, you ever watch the movies of the superheroes first get their powers and they don't know what's going on?
DJ Kev White, ready to go with the ring.
Speak my words. So like, well, who are you talking to, God? With that lady, no.
And that's amazing, it's true. So when you talk about Jonah, to people who don't know, Jonah was an individual that the Bible talks about, that just God was saying, you're going to go here and preach the gospel to Nineveh, and he kept running away, and he tried to jump in, he tried to get into a boat, run away into a cruise ship. Exactly.
I literally did the same exact thing. I jumped onto a cruise ship,
got into it, and then God sent a great whale, got him, took COVID, Nineveh, threw him up on the land, and said, okay, now you're where you're supposed to be. I think that is actually a true representation of what a lot of our lives are, and where a lot of our failure as leaders, or our failures of our leadership styles kind of come from. Kev, why don't you walk us through, describe your leadership style? Because even though you're in a job of one, you still have a lot that you're doing and a lot of stuff that you're leading in those types of scenarios. So walk us through your leadership style.
The thing about it is, my main leadership style is more like LeBron James, where you're able to highlight all of your teammates' best assets, and you want to build on that so that way they could start to become confident in every other thing that they're maybe lacking in, So I understand, like, when you want to build up someone, like if you're good at speaking, okay, cool, let's start there, and then we're going to push from there. Like LeBron James had a photogenic memory. A lot of people don't know that, where if he sees your finger turn at a certain angle, he knows for a fact you're going to make that shot. So when you're working on a cruise ship, you got to rely on other people, and remember, you got to make sure if the crew staff aren't happy, they're not going to bring anybody to your club. So you want to focus on them and building them up. And if I know for a fact, if I play this song, they're going to dance a whole lot harder, and that's going to make the crowd interact with me even better, and they're going to come up to the club. So my leadership style is lead by example as well. I wouldn't tell somebody else to do something that I wouldn't do myself. If I'm telling my son, let's do 1,000 jumping jacks, it's because I'm going to do 1,000 jumping jacks with you. And it's like, if I show you that it could be done, I want to build that confidence in you so that way you can see it done already. So that way you could go push forward to actually try to achieve it yourself.
Wow. Yep. Lead by example. That is, and I like how you said that, even with like the cruise ship staff, having to lead by example, leading them to be able to bring people to the show, to get them into your club, to be able to experience what you had prepared and what you had worked so hard for. So even though individual effort is there, you were kind of gravitating towards bringing people in that manner. So that's awesome. I like that. So What comes to mind whenever we say spiritual resiliency? Spiritual resiliency.
The ability to get hit and get right back up. And like how many times can you get hit and get back up and keep fighting and keep pushing forward, because the enemy's going to come, the enemy's going to knock you down. How long are you going to stay down? What is your plan of action when you are down? How are you going to get back up? What is the recovery plan? What is the plan of action so that way you're not completely shattered or decimated? Because you always want to have like a backup plan. You always want to have a contingency plan as to when it happens so you're prepared.
Okay, so spiritual resiliency. What about, okay, so in yourself, like when we talk about just Kev White, how does spiritual resiliency look for you as an individual? We're going to look at the individual, the family, and the team.
For me, it's like, I know for a fact, whenever things are going wrong, for example, if I'm arguing with my wife, I'm not going to argue with my wife. I'm going to go into another room and I'm going to pray and then attack what is bothering my wife. Because remember, Jesus showed an excellent example of that when he was on the boat, but he was sleeping and the waves were attacking the boat and they're going through it. But Jesus showed to attack the wind, not the waves, because the wind is what was causing the waves. So for me, if I know for a fact my family's under attack, it's on me to keep pushing forward. So the plan of action is to go to the Father, pray, and then we're going to attack what's causing, you know what I'm trying to say, where it's like we're going for the head, like what's causing that to happen,
Yeah, trying to look at the deeper instead of what is right in front of us.
Individual, correct.
Yeah. So spiritual resiliency, I think we all try to cookie cutter it. I think we try to make it into this mold of, you and I are both faith-based individuals, right? We rely on our biblical stance. We rely on what God is to us, but it's also deeper than that. Like with you, Kev, I know for a fact, because I've known you for a little bit now, you find spiritual resiliency in a lot of different things, like music. For you, music, where do you see that in music?
When you play certain songs, you can hear the heart and soul of the person. And you can hear what they actually been through. You can hear their pain in their voice. Certain songs like Marvin Gaye was going on, he was going through a lot at that time. And when you listen to certain songs, it reminds you, hey, you're not alone. There's nothing that you're going through that God actually won't send you a song to be like, hey, this person's been through worse. So at the end of the day, you're looking at that situation like, oh, wow, my life isn't that bad. Like, if you look at Tupac, Brenda Sad Baby, like she had an abortion on the song. It's like, yo, my life ain't that bad. At least it's just like music has a way of showing like, look, what you're going through is not as serious as you think. And certain songs in particular are used to just build you back up because of the fact that you're like, you know what, I could find peace in this song. Certain records give you peace. Certain records want to lift you up, lift your spirits up. And music in general is just a tool to help people get back up and help people forget about what's going on outside. And that was the original purpose of the DJ, where they started in South Bronx, New York. And it was so bad in that area. So when DJ started DJing, the whole goal of Grandmaster Flash and Grand Wizard Theodore was to make it where they would forget about what's going on outside. And in that moment where they were in a nightclub, nothing else mattered.
Man, I did not know that. I did not even know that it was in South. I just love the fact that you knew that it was in South Bronx. I never knew that about DJing, that was kind of one of those initial things that they were doing, was to try to calm down and calm the peace of the atmosphere that was going on. I think we could use a lot more of that right now.
Yeah, that's why when you go to a club and a DJ is DJing, he's really, really good at his job. It's like an art form. It's like you're building and you're building and you're building and you're building and you're building. And a good DJ is able to articulate a story versus just playing records, And once you start dancing, you're shaking off. Remember, like even David, whenever King Saul was battling a spirit, King David would literally start playing music and whatever was on him would just jump off of him. And that's what music could do to people. That's why I love playing gospel music and upbeat music, because what they were dealing with when they came in to see me no longer is with them. So you leave fulfilled, you leave happy, you leave like a part of you just got uplifted, when you listen to certain songs.
And it's really interesting that you say that, because I told you before we got started, I was talking to you about my son, Stanley. As most of my listeners know, because I talk about it in almost every single one of my podcasts, is, he was adopted. So Stanley was adopted. Stanley's been through a massive amount of tragedy, heartbreak, hurt, anything that you can imagine to a young child. You know, he's been through that, right? And in having that, he doesn't talk a lot about it. And there's really the first time that we ever had a very deep conversation about what he was going through was when the artist NF was playing. So Stanley and I were driving, and all of a sudden an NF song came up. Daddy, turn up the music. Okay, cool. You know, I turn up the music, and it gets to this one part where, you know, Stanley is starting to be able to interact with the artist, right? Like he was able to see it through his perspective, because NF had been through a lot of the stuff that Stanley had been through, right? There was a lot of similarities between the stories. And whenever NF did such a great job of crafting this picture that Stanley was able to see it. And he went, yeah, I know what he's going through. And I'm like, okay, here, let's turn it down. Let's listen to, you know, I want to hear you. Now, granted, he didn't talk much about it. He said, you know, whenever I was like, well, what do you mean? And he's like, well, I don't know. It started a conversation because he was able to connect to NF in such a way. And the DJ was doing a really good job about bringing that music together. You know, DJs are storytellers. And y'all are storytellers, man.
And there are certain artists, like Eminem gets a lot of slack, but Eminem is one of the greatest storytellers of all time. Slick Rick, there's no way you could play Slick Rick at a children's story. If you close your eyes, you could literally see what he's rapping about. You could see the entire vision. Nas is another one. And as for Stanley, if he doesn't feel comfortable talking about it, get him like a pen and paper and just let him draw it out. Because a lot of times when children are afraid to speak in the natural, if you let them draw, like I was going through a lot, and I was listening to a lot of Eminem, and I used to just draw. It was so much rage in me. I used to just draw Brawly from Dragon Ball Z, and I would draw like Kakarot and all of those Dragon Ball Z fighters. So like give him some sketch pencils and just watch him work. And even if he doesn't have the talent yet in the beginning, he will come seeing your son drawing right now. I don't know if he already started drawing. I don't know why I said he did.
Yeah, he has. He's really been doing really, really good about picking up the pencils, and that's how he does it, because he doesn't necessarily know the emotions in the words, but he can put it on paper and see it.
That's what, because I kept seeing him draw. I'm looking at it right now. I'm seeing him in the spirit just draw right now like this. So I said, get him some pen and pads and just let him just draw. Because even my daughter is super quiet. But if you say, hey, we're going to have a drawing competition right now, she's going to try to dust me. You know, because what she can't say, because he's an artist. And when an artist goes through so much pain, they need to have an outlet to release it. And with drawing, it's a healthy outlet. Music is a healthy outlet. You want to know somebody, look at the iPod. What songs they listen to. Yeah. That tells a lot about them. But for him, get him in the drawing.
No, he's already there. So we're...
I was kind of shocking. I was like, hey, why don't I see him drawing?
All right. Can you give us what spiritual resiliency looks like for your team? Like when you're on a cruise ship, when you're out and about and you're on the high seas, that y'all call it that, right? Like the high seas. Is that okay? Good. I'm just making sure, because I thought maybe that was just a Pirates of the Caribbean Disney mix up thing that I had going on there with you.
Actually, give us that party too.
Give us a note. How do you build it in your team when you're out?
Okay. So this is the first time I've ever talking about this. We were on the sister ship to the Diamond Princess, the one that had COVID. We actually had norovirus, and we were literally stuck in the middle of the ocean because they didn't know if we had coronavirus or norovirus. So at the same time we had norovirus, like I actually caught it, and I felt like Wolverine was trying to drag his claws out of my belly. Right? It was crazy. And it was so bad. We were in red level, and we couldn't get off of the ship at all. No port would let us in. So now we're stuck. And we had a bunch of passengers that were throwing up, that were doing number twos. And it was so contagious. And at the same time, we're watching the people on the Diamond Princess, our family members, like isolated in their rooms. And mind you, even though they're isolated, the air filtration system is exactly the same. So they're all breathing in the same air. So now they're docked, they can't move. We're in the Caribbean, and we're in the Caribbean Princess, and we're completely shut down. And it was to the point where like we had to clean the ship every hour. We had to take shifts to clean the ship. And it was so demoralizing. And I spoke to HR. I said, hey, look, we need to have a crew party. And you need to let me DJ. because of the fact that that's going to help build up the morale of the ship, you know? And she got upset with me. I said, yo, you're not doing your job. And I literally told this to HR, like, you're part of the problem, you know? And people looked at me as one of the leaders on the ship, even though I was part of the steering committee, because on the ships, I'm a 2.5 stripe officer. On top of that, when you're a DJ, they look at you like they come to me with their problems all day long, you know, because they understand like I'm going to talk to them. And I knew what the crew needed. Whenever crew members are going through it, give them a good party. Give them lots of beers and just let them that's how we party the high seas. You know, you've seen Titanic. You understand how it goes in the crew bar. So the cruise director and the entertainment director got involved. I didn't know what happened. So I got a call from the entertainment director, Kevin, in my office now. I said, this is after I kind of told HR what to do before Christ. And so I got to the office and he said, what time are you DJing the crew party tonight? Literally like that. So the HR spoke to the entertainment director and he had my back. And then the captain had my back. So we threw like a massive crew party. And the next day, everybody was happy. Everybody as well. So it was one of those situations where, like, for me as a DJ, I know my position. If I see the morale of the ship is down, I need to be the one to say, hey, look, we need to have a fire crew party. Because at the end of the day, we've been cleaning the ship every hour on the hour. I would clean the shit with my homegirl, Jacinta. 5 minutes later, I hear Jacinta's in the emergency room throwing up. And I'm like, come on. This makes no sense, you know? So, like, for me, being able to provide a service where it could boost the morale of over 2,000 crew members, that's what I love to do. And that's how I built up my team through resilience. Like, that's like an act of resiliency to, like, be able to throw a party for them to get back up. Hope that answered the question.
Oh, absolutely, that did. I mean, I asked, how do you build it in a team? And that is exactly how that happens. You
let them turn up.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a great example. I never even knew that about you, that you were on the Caribbean Queen trying to do and set up the morale of a team. I mean, just thinking about, the trying to clean the entire time, you get so beat down. And just that little bit of, that can be that physical resiliency, that could be that mental resiliency, but definitely spiritual resiliency, because I think we forget that so many times that there's overlap between them all, right? Mm-hmm. Like there is an overlap between the physical and the spiritual. Spiritual is when we have to go above ourselves, right? To go outside of ourselves to get pulled up. There's got to be that thing that's able and willing to bring us out of what we are currently going through.
It was crazy because God put me in a position where I had to look out for my brothers and sisters, and they're looking at me like, Kev, what are we doing? Mm-hmm. And mind you, I'm part of the steering committee. So I'm on the committee with the captain, HR. I'm on the committee with the entertainment director and all these people. I'm the only one that my picture is not on the wall because I didn't dress up. I had on a Black Panther t-shirt. They're like, come on, Kev. And I was still waiting for it to get on the wall. But
like, wait, I saw that on Disney Plus. Am I not allowed to wear that?
I think we're good here, But they knew for a fact it was about that time that it had to be done. There was no other way around it. And when the team found out I was and mind you, I was supposed to get off the ship like that next port. So when they found out I was DJing the crew party, and we did like when I say a massive crew party, it was crazy. And I'm jumping on chairs, like it was nuts. So it swept through the ship. Like whatever was on them was gone the next day. And they were able to work more efficiently. They were happy, and they knew we got to keep doing crew parties moving forward for the staff because they were beat down,
Mm-hmm. And you can only get beat down so low before you break, right?
They had us cleaning the ship with toothbrushes. Ew. Am I just the first time I'm actually talking about that since in 2 years? Wow. Because of the fact that I love working for Princess Cruises. I still do. That's like amazing company, but from a DJ perspective, like a leader perspective, when I was put in a position, it like if the morale of the ship is down, that's not a good look, and if I'm put in a position where I'm able to help my teammates, my family members, because remember, if you're on a ship with someone for 7 months, they're not just your friends, they're your family. Yeah. And even I got the highest grade for DJs on the ocean right now. So, and it spilled over to the way I treat my family members, the way I treated the passengers. Like, you're catching me draw Pikachus at Christmas time with passengers. So I'm just supposed to be a DJ, like in the nightclub, walk around the ship, just making everybody's life better,
And next thing you know, you're going to pull out the balloon animals.
Oh, nah, never. I was doing the bartender flare shows.
Man, so give us a time, a moment when all you had to rely on was your spiritual pillar.
I remember one time God was like, surrender everything, right? And he said, no sex, no porn, no nothing. And I tried to negotiate with God. I'm like, what if I just watch this one porno star, And I'm preparing for marriage,
I'm keeping this one thing, God.
Lord, help me. And he literally said, do a Daniel fast. Because of the fact that he's like, what you're fighting, you want to break that off of you, So when you have to totally rely on God, and now not only am I not having any females, I'm not having any meat, I'm not having any liquor, I'm not having any video games, I'm not having no candy, nothing. So I had to like completely surrender to the process of detoxification. Because up until that point, I was playing like Animal Crossing. I came from a ship where it's an open buffet of whatever nationality you wanted. So now I'm on land in isolation. And it's just like, he's like, you need to rely on me moving forward. So I actually had to really focus on him and focus on his roles and focus on my relationship with him to help me get past that point. And since then, I've never watched porn again. It's been almost 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah. He freed me from that.
Wow.
And I got married too. Yeah. It was because it was funny. I said, God, when is my wife coming? And he said it in a Thanos voice. All hers, wait. I was like, wait, what?
Just you wait. Right.
Just you wait. Next season.
On the next episode of Kevin's Life, enter Sophia.
And here are the kids. I'm like, wait, what?
So how did you overcome? Like, what did you do to push through? Like you said, fasting, right?
Fasting and prayer. And I put together accountability buddies. Like, I had friends all the way in New Zealand ready for my phone call. So worst case scenario, if I need to get a phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning, it's 4 p.m. over there. So when I'm talking to them, they're like, oh, we're fresh, wide awake, ready to pray with you. And it was one time the devil came at me so hard. He had one of my exes call me. She's like, hey, I'm in town. I have a hotel room and I got liquor. I said, oh, no. I had to call her like, please pray for me right now.
The trifecta.
I'm like, no. I'm on day 18. Help me, Lord.
Wow.
And it was so messed up because after the first one, God said, you ain't finished. You got to do another one. That's how I did 2 Daniel fasts back to back. So I met Sophia during the second one. Yo, it was so bad. I met Sophia during my second Daniel fast. I look like Mahatma Gandhi. That's how much weight I lost. I was looking like 50 for G-Unit and then gone.
Wow. All right, Kev, what are you reading right now? Like what are you reading?
Okay, so right now I'm reading The Prophet's Manual by Apostle John Eckhart. And I was also going to look into As So He Perceived King David. So those are the two things I'm looking at right now. And I'm currently stuck in 2 Corinthians.
Oh boy.
I know.
I get stuck. I hit Numbers and Leviticus, and I'm like, I said Numbers too. Maybe I'll wait till next year to do the whole Bible again because it ain't happening.
Leviticus is just so much loss. I can't do this. I'm not gonna read. We're already set free from that through the blood, so we're good.
Yeah. Next chapter.
Next chapter, please.
All right, hey Kev, thank you so much for joining me today. Like this is absolutely, it warms my heart just being able to sit down and talk to you, to think about the aspects that you on the cruise ship, what your days are looking like, how you navigate through, what you did to build resiliency in yourself, your family, your team. It really spoke to me. So I'm going to give you the next little bit, just kind of close this out with whatever you want to say, whatever's on your heart type.
Okay. I thank you so much for having me. And I love what you're doing. I love everything about it. I love the fact that you adopted your son. And that was a huge thing because I see what he's about to be in the future. I'm seeing him right now with his own art gallery. And I'm seeing him with pictures all over it. And What he can't physically express with his mouth, he's going to be able to express with his hand. I want you to pray over his hands, and I want you to put oil on it or rub it on his hands and anoint his hands as his father you are his covering. And I see it. Like he's like tall. He's wearing like all black glasses. He's like one of those guys in New York, like the fashion dudes. Like this is a Monet. Like, you know, like he look like one of those, but he's gonna be a very successful artist. And I'm looking at it right now. And from one artist that used to be silent, and I understand what he's going through internally, and that's his art form. And I'm so grateful to be able to give that advice to you when it comes to an artist, from an artist to another artist, you know. And I'm so grateful that you open up your heart and your house up, and I'm so grateful for your family, and I'm so happy to be able to share my testimony or my story to the people that are listening to this. And if they ever need to talk to you, can feel free to hit me up.
Absolutely. We'll put your website, we'll put the book recommendations, we'll put all that down in the description. What were the main 3 points that you got from today?
Always have a plan of action. It's not always about you. It's about the people that you're in the trenches with. You got to always look out for them, because they're going to be the always one to have your back. And you want to keep your heart open to open your house as well. You know, that's super important, because you never know who God might bring into your life.
Absolutely. All right. Hey, everyone, thank you for joining us. Join us next week as we continue to explore what it looks like for spiritual resiliency in each and every one of us. I hope that what you're getting out of this is that there are different approaches, and that the picture can look a little bit differently if you frame it just a little bit better. Frame it in a sense of what is important to you, your spiritual resiliency. What does it look like? It doesn't have to be just the Bible. It doesn't have to just be that spirit. It can be the music in your life that brings you through. Today's episode is being produced by one of my best friends, Jeff Fraser, with 369studiodesigns.com. He composed, wrote, produced the intro and outro music, as well as he has taken it on personally for me to produce this show. And I am very grateful for everything that he has done. Again, that is Jeff Fraser with 369studiodesigns.com. Have a blessed day.